Jay, do you mind to do a little bit of role-playing with me?
I do, but you literally started off while I was putting my mouth to a cup to take a drink. Sure, absolutely. Should I get the GIMP mask?
I need you to be Mark Ellis, and I will be Kristian Harloff, okay?
All right, Schmoville.
I'll tell you what, the past 10 years, comedies have been horrible.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, segue into an ad. I don't have a segue.
Okay. Anyway. Now, Ellis, last night I was at home with my wife. My daughter was in bed. And I was trying to figure out if I wanted to watch a television show or a movie. But I got to flipping through the late night talk show host, Mark. And I noticed that every late night talk show host looks at the camera when speaking. What? I think while everyone's doing that, I'm going to be looking away from the camera. Actually, I'm going to look away from the camera so much, in fact, that my back will be turned to the audience, and it will be new and fresh, and I think it will take Schmoes Know to over 300,000 subscribers on YouTube. What do you think of that? Is that horrible?
Well, I don't really have a problem with that because every time I'm on a podcast, I directly face the camera as if that's the only people that are taking in this content. But I do know exactly what you're talking about because Jaye Williams, who hosts After Schmoe, it's so bad you not facing the camera that he couldn't even fit you into the thumbnail for this week's episode of After Schmoe.
Is that true? I haven't seen the thumbnail yet. Was it hard?
It's very true, Kristian. With your kids.
Okay, you don't have to be Ellis anymore.
Okay, good, because it's kind of difficult.
I wanted you to just cut out literally his back and like make a pattern of like 10 of Kristian's back that like fill up the entire thumbnail. That would have been what I would have done.
I just want to give, Kristian is a big fan of giving notes, so I just wanted to give a little bit of note. How about you look at the camera? Because I couldn't do it. I couldn't work you in. I wanted to have a nice Mark and Kristian thumbnail again. I had to put Rocha on. He was only on there for like 15 minutes. It was ridiculous. I almost had to put Ken on there. He wasn't even on the damn show.
Yeah. You should have just you should have put everyone else but Mark and Kristian. I'd be very surprised to find out that that Kristian Harloff did any sort of theater growing up. Because when you are in drama class, they teach you Theater 101 that you need to, even though you might have some dialogue with a character on stage, your body needs to be mostly facing outward in the audience. So, but I don't know. Maybe, like I said, maybe he's doing it on purpose. Maybe he's trying to set a trend or something. Who does he think he is? Jaye Williams and Ryan Snelling? Exactly.
I mean, look. I don't have a problem with it so much. It just made it very difficult for me to work him into the thumbnail. But look, nonetheless, I know where this is going. I know where this comes from. I remember his Beardo episode. He was very, very gave this heartfelt impression of bringing in the cameras into the studio and how he thought it wasn't natural enough. So this is him obviously protesting. I mean, I was in the meeting that he just doesn't pay attention to, and he really wanted to just do it from the broom closet so that no one could tell what was going on.
If you haven't noticed, guys, you're listening to After Schmoe. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ryan Snelling.
And my name is Jaye Williams, and as Kevin Smith once wrote into one of his films, Clerks, I wasn't even supposed to be here today.
Oh. Is that true?
Well, yeah, last week they said that we weren't even supposed to, or that there wasn't even going to be a live show. And,
that's true.
And you put it into my head that we were just going to be taking the week off, so I'm going out to a nice dinner at a Mexican restaurant with Kayla, my lovely girlfriend, and all of a sudden I get a text that we had to do this show, and I was furious. Not because I don't like doing the show, but I don't like it when my plans change, okay? I had a nice dinner, okay? And it was just going to be like hanging out with the lady friend. Then all of a sudden I had to pay attention to the show, okay? I just think they just need to be ashamed of themselves.
It was like 8:30, and I texted you, and I said, I totally forgot about Schmoes tonight. And you said, there is no Schmoes tonight. at 8:30, and they come on at 9 our time. And then it wasn't until about 5 till that we figured out that there was an actual show that we should be paying attention to. And I was actually under the impression, just based on the fact that it was going to be Q&A, I thought they might just do that for like an hour and then leave. So even then, I was like, well, I don't even know if we have to do After Schmoe. But it was revealed that it was going to be a full 2 hours and that they were doing other things. So yeah, the more the show went on last night, like I'm sitting there watching it live, the more the show went on, I'm like, yeah, I definitely have to do After Schmoe.
I was so frustrated because this wasn't in my plans that I sat there. You know how like when I don't really know a way to illustrate this, but have you ever just been like frustrated to do something and then you go to do it and you just sit there like stone faced the whole time?
Yeah.
So I just sat there like watching it, just like, I don't enjoy this. Blah blah blah. I can't believe this wasn't even in my plans. I was supposed to be watching Glow or something like that. And
I think that's how Kristian felt for a long time, right before his hiatus.
Well, regardless, I actually ended up turning it off, and I listened to the episode this week. We talked a few weeks back how we think that it's a different experience, and listening to it after letting the dust sort of settle, I was fine. It was great. I thought this was
good.
A fantastic episode.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, you were in a weird mood yesterday. It was pretty funny. But yes, regardless, we are lucky to get to do After Schmoe, and we're lucky to have a great sponsor like MeUndies. MeUndies are simply the softest, most comfortable underwear that you will ever wear. Once you try them, you won't want to wear anything else unless you're naked or in your swimsuit. And that line right there, if any, makes it known that I read word for word from a sheet when doing this ad. Every pair of MeUndies is sustainably sourced and made from micro.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? I was rubbing modal.
A fabric that's 3 times softer than cotton. If you're used to buying packs of uncomfortable, boring underwear that only come in white, gray, black, or tan, MeUndies will change everything. They have a monthly limited edition pattern that always sells out, and it happens to be quote-unquote Celebrate this month in a rainbow confetti print. Try MeUndies today. Go get that Celebrate pattern before they're all gone, and go to MeUndies.com/after. You will save 20% off of your first pair. And if you don't love your first pair, they're free. Yes, they are free. That's how confident MeUndies is with their product. Get 20% off of your first pair plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/after right now. That's right, /after, not /beardo, /after. MeUndies.com/after. Yeah, last night was it was different, and it was like a bittersweet. It was a blessing and a curse, because I was talking about how last week I wanted more just Mark and Kristian, and that's exactly what we got. But I don't know, Kristian, I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or if he had a long goddamn hard day at work, and he was just he was weird at the beginning. But I think as it went on, like you said, it felt more and more like a normal show. So it was kind of strange, not gonna lie.
I want your opinion on something real quick. I want to know, do you think that maybe this was earlier on in the week they decided that they were going to do this, or do you think that maybe around noon yesterday he was like, you know what, I think we should just do a show, and he called some people. Some people could be there, some people couldn't be there. We got what we got. And do you think it was more impromptu than they let on?
Probably. I think so. I mean,
I like to think so.
It had to have come up Monday or Tuesday. Hey, well, we could at least do a Q&A. And then they probably just asked, well, hey, Rocha, do you want to come by? Because we're not going to be doing much. And he was like, yeah, that's fine.
Rocha's like on call all the time. Whatever you need him to do, he will leave his job selling wands to people or whatever he does, and he will come and hang out on whatever show that there is to do.
I actually do think that's the case. When we talked to him last, I think that he talked about how he switches shifts a lot with people. That's probably just the culture over there. I mean, that's got to be how it is. Every employer has to be scared to death every time there's a new hire because they could lose that person at any time to an audition or for anything out in LA. So it's got to be totally different than what it's like out here when you just lose jobs for being on drugs. So, but yeah,
okay,
I'm sure that's how
right.
it was. Well, not me. I didn't lose my job to drugs.
Allegedly.
I haven't lost any job. Have I lost that job? No, I've never been fired.
Does After Schmoe drug test?
So,
is that why you had to leave earlier? Is that why you had to take a hiatus because you failed a drug test for After Schmoe?
Yeah, that's what it was. And so anyway, last week we talked about how lucky we were, how great it was that the Schmoes and Dennis sort of run Collider Video now. And the more I thought about it, the more I want to feel free to discuss Collider on this show. Like I still don't have an interest in making it a mandate. I'm not going to go out of my way and watch every single episode of Movie Talk, and we're not going to go over that because that kind of show doesn't need notes. But I do want to talk about like new and exciting things at Collider. I want to talk about comic book shopping for a second.
Oh yeah, you like that?
So, we talked about it briefly last week, and we were making fun of Evan Goldberg and how he lived 3 blocks away.
Well, I just live right over there.
This week really showed the potential of this show. So I wanted to get your thoughts on not comic book men, that's Kevin Smith, on comic book shopping, because this is obviously a new and exciting thing. We got word that Campia wasn't really on board with a lot of the new and exciting things at Collider, so I wonder if Campia is pissed that comic book shopping exists, if you will. But I think the show is awesome. I think it has great potential for the company and for the channel. And I think the guests have been the most interesting part so far. But overall, I love the concept. What do you think about it?
Well, first of all, I know in previous iterations of the show, you guys like to do a lot of speculation. I've got a little bit of speculation to do centered around this. First of all, I think it's fantastic that they are introducing this series so close to Comic-Con. Obviously, that's sort of the buzz that's going on right now. And we all know, well, maybe we don't all know, but I love John Schnepp, one of my favorite people in this space, 100%. He's just a guy I want to hang out with. And
he's a gangster.
He is. He's a G. And I've sort of noticed on Movie Talk lately, because of the new sort of rotating cast of characters, people being involved more, that I haven't really seen Schnepp on there as much. And for a little bit, I was a little taken aback by it. He's one of my favorite aspects of Movie Talk. But then I really got to thinking about it. We got word that they're going to be doing this 5 days a week Heroes thing, sort of a thing for Comic-Con. And we see now that he's hosting the show, and it looks like a lot of stuff goes into the production. Obviously, this most recent episode, was filmed in Las Vegas. Now, I remember we talked about it, I believe it was off air, that Jeremy Johns and Schnepp went to see Linkin Park in Vegas. And at the time, we were like, this is the most random thing ever. And so now they're doing these things where they're actually going around to different comic book shops. I don't know how much they're going to actually be doing that. But it sort of softens the blow of Schnepp not being on Movie Talk as much, because look, this is 100%. I don't need to tell this to Schmoeville, but this is John Schnepp's lane. Okay, this is him doing what he loves. This is him. Well, I don't know if he loves doing it, but this is his space that he loves.
I'm sure he does.
This is a space that he is incredibly knowledgeable. I mean, this is great. When you can sort of put people in the right seats to do the right things, I mean, they're just simply going to flourish. We both know that. And I'm excited, man. I love Complex's series Sneaker Shopping. I watch it all the time. It's a huge show on YouTube, and this is a direct echo of that show. I mean, the format and everything. This week, they went into the sort of rare room and got to see all those rare comic books, and they do that same thing on Sneaker Shopping. They show the really high-end sneakers, and I just love it, man. I love those things that aren't attainable to me, and getting to see that and getting to see people's reaction. I think it's fantastic.
I think there's a lot of value in it because Schnepp and the guys over at Heroes talk all the time. Well, not just them, but a lot of people in this space as well talk about how difficult it is to kind of get into comics because it's extremely overwhelming. I mean, I would argue that getting into comics is more overwhelming than like getting into movies. So it's very hard to navigate and gauge that space. And something that's educational like this is a really great tool. As far as the YouTube channel goes, being able to have a guest like Evan Goldberg, being able to have a guest like Linkin Park, I don't know if you guys follow Jaye Williams and I, you probably know a little bit about our background in music. Linkin Park is an extremely pivotal band in my life. So to see them and John Schnepp, to see those worlds collide in that way was extremely exciting for me. To see the potential for this show and exactly what it could do. Because it was one thing to be in LA. It was one thing to be at Meltdown. It was one thing to have Evan Goldberg, who lived 3 blocks away.
I just live over there.
It's another thing. Exactly right. I just live 3 blocks away. It's another thing if they go around the country and meet up with people that are on tour like musicians.
It's something we don't see that often from Collider. We don't. I mean, from time to time they'll go on set and stuff, but that's usually in LA for the most part. This is new territory. I think it's super exciting.
Yes, and that's all the more reason why I want to have this conversation this week instead of last week. Because last week I was like, oh, this is pretty cool for a Collider. No, this is pretty cool for a Collider. It really is. If Kristian Harloff thinks that we love Brett Sheridan, the 2 people that we don't talk about enough or get to talk about enough on this show are John Schnepp, like you mentioned, and Robert Meyer Burnett.
Dennis.
Robert Meyer Burnett, to quote Jaye Williams, is fire. Okay? And I 100% agree. It will literally make or break my week if Robert Meyer Burnett is or isn't on Heroes. Like, it can affect the rest of the week if he is not on Heroes. We are massive fans of both of those individuals. I would like to see Robert Meyer Burnett get more involved with the show. I don't know if you could co-host or maybe be the filler co-host when they don't have an opportunity to get a big guest. Because that's another concern. Like, how often are they going to put these episodes out? If they aren't able to travel, if they aren't able to get a big guest, but they still wanted to do it weekly, I would kill. No, I wouldn't. But I would love to see Schnepp and Robert Meyer Burnett just get really sweaty in a comic book shop. I think it would be fantastic. So overall, the possibilities with this show kind of seem endless right now, and it's a really, really exciting time, like you said last week, to be a Collider fan.
Just to put a little bit of a bow on this whole thing, on the live show this week, they talked a little bit about some of their favorite twists in movies, or movies that have great twists. And one of my favorite twists of this comic book shopping thing was when they were like, oh, now here's the owner of this comic book shop. And I was like, oh, that looks like a cool guy. The drummer of System of a Down. And I was just like, what? Excuse me? Like, holy shit. A cameo, a show within a show. It was dope.
And we found out that Copster's favorite band of all time is System of a Down, so I'm sure that he was excited as well. I wonder if he was actually on set helping Dennis direct the episode. But yeah, that was pretty interesting all around. It's out in Vegas. It looked like a really awesome comic book shop. I would love to visit that.
Yeah, we have comic book shops out here, guys. If you guys ever want to have some celebrities on your show from out here, who are they going to get? John Calipari? Drake likes it. Drake likes Kentucky.
That's true, but I mean, if you wanted to follow that logic, you could just have Drake go anywhere to a comic book shop.
That's true. That's fair.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's. What else you want to talk about? It was Labor Day. That's right. There was no.
Oh, was it Labor Day?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was Labor Day in July.
Right.
What the fuck is wrong
It was
with you?
4th of July. I have this question for you because I tweeted about this and there's nothing I can do about it except vent, and I don't even feel justified in venting. I get a little peeved and annoyed. It's like my morning coffee. When I wake up and it's a holiday and I realize that I'm not getting the great content provided by Schmoes and Collider, it sucks. Because then I'm like, hey, what am I going to do all day? Because my life is just encompassing YouTube content. Do you ever get any of that, or does that matter to you?
Here we go. Ryan Snelling feeling entitled to the Collider content.
It's not so much that. It's that I just miss it. Like, it's noticeably gone when I don't have anything to watch. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, for this specific holiday, it didn't really affect me, to be honest. Now, when we get into the Christmas and the New Year's season, that's a rough time for every podcast I've ever been involved with. That's like a tough time because not only do the shows just in general take time off, but I feel like the listeners take time off too. It's just like, why is there this dip in people checking it? Well, it's because they're busy. So I get it. I get why they don't do it. I mean, sometimes it's just more cost effective, I guess, smarter to sort of shut your doors. But you did get a TV talk on Monday, even though Monday wasn't really a holiday. Everybody treated it like it was.
Yeah.
Papa Jay had to go to work, so I was happy to get a little TV talk taste on Monday.
Yeah, I didn't understand that, but again, in no way am I saying they should absolutely have to work on those days. But I do like when they think ahead and release some kind of content. I think that's pretty cool. So shout out to Makuga and everyone at TV Talk who gave us that additional episode. But
just real quick to add on to the comic book shopping thing. Again, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes with Collider, but if they are doing more sort of pre-recorded, produced content like this, think of all the cool stuff that they could have sort of in the pipe banked to sort of release on days like this, or just in general. Like we get like the mailbag on the weekends, but if it's like and we get the behind the scenes, but if it's a new thing that we're going to get this produced content throughout the week, that again, it just makes me excited.
We could get more episodes of Collider Unboxed. Let's get into Schmoes Know Live Show number 290. It's a Q&A episode, folks. I almost forgot how to say the word folks. It's an ad! It's an ad!
It's folks.
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 That was my Kristian Harloff, by the way.
Oh, yeah? I couldn't tell. Do you want to hear my notes?
It's an ad! Yeah. Okay, so what we like to do is listen to Jay's stream of consciousness notes. And I hate so much that Kristian Harloff loves this segment.
I was about to say, it was nice to sort of hear what he loves and doesn't love, because the one time
he said
he
said he loved two things. I don't remember what the second one was. Did he get away with not saying two things?
No,
or
he
was
said
there another
it was
thing?
a history lesson that he liked, but that we didn't do it. First of all, look, man, you took a fucking year off the show. If I want to take a few weeks off of doing the history lesson, it's fine. Ken gets away with not doing the stuff. Why don't you take a nap, okay? You should be ashamed of yourself, okay?
I'm going the other way. I think that we should be happy that Kristian likes our show. Because
right.
sometimes I don't know if he does.
Well, I was about to say, it's good to know the things that he likes, because the one time I was like, hey, man, if you ever have any suggestions, oh, what's that? Here's a list of things you can improve on. Okay. All right. Just take it easy.
Oh, man. I wonder if he's actively thinking about changing me out, because he only liked things that you did. But that's okay. It's by design. I don't care to be the host of the show. But anyway, we are here to do Jaye Williams' stream of consciousness notes. Go ahead, Jay, whenever you're ready.
These are your Schmoes Know Show stream of consciousness notes, brought to you by SightSoundPod.com. I'm listening again this week. Mark is very loud. Beardo gunning for Cobster's job. Oh, wait, never mind. He failed immediately. We officially got an I can believe that. Okay, Kristian loves TV now. I should send Kristian my sex playlist. In fact, Kristian should join the Sight and Sound Facebook group. How dare you? Ace is not a glorified water boy. Did someone say ear to the ground? Has Ellis been listening to Sight and Sound? Did Ellis just steal my SchmoeCon idea? Kristian fucking lost it over a fart joke? What the hell is happening? Old bag? How dare you? You should be ashamed of yourself. Oh, hey, Rocha. Paul Thomas Anderson, close friends with Radiohead. Quote, you're giving me 30 notes, end quote. Evan reps Sight and Sound crew. Back off, old man Rocha. You have no idea how much I want to get involved in this Mayweather-McGregor conversation on Outlaw Nation. And that is your Schmoes Know Stream of Consciousness Notes brought to you by SightSoundPod.com.
Did you really like how it started, though? The intimacy of, like, I know that you were upset at first because of the whole, mix up and the whole debacle, the fact that there was supposed to, or that there wasn't supposed to be a live show.
Yeah.
But when you were able to take a step back, did you like the intimacy of just Kristian and Mark there at the beginning?
Of course, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about it multiple times now that Mark and Kristian should just have their own show. In fact, I want the show to go back to what it was. And I know they have a lot on their plate, obviously, but I'd love for them maybe like once a month, just put, I don't know if Harloff Podcast even exists anymore. They might as well just get together twice a month and just do these little Q&A things and shoot the shit for like an hour. Just give the people what they want.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that. I didn't mean to recycle that conversation, but I mean, I had to ask because that's, how the show started. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Other than Kristian being weird and facing away from the camera, I couldn't figure out. It was like he was ducking, like he didn't want to be seen from somebody. But it's like, dude, you're on camera. But I did really like it a lot, and we got quite a few shout outs throughout the entire show.
That's right.
That was I'm not used to that. I'm very flattered. I mean, Kristian was able to even pick me off in the Stardust montage. Oh, I think that was Snelling.
It's interesting because I don't need to talk about on here how much I love Schmoeville and how fantastic of a fan group they are. I mean, it's funny because I kind of go through the comments of the live show, the live chat, and I even went through the YouTube page, the comments on the YouTube page, and look, no offense to the YouTube people, the people that hang out there, but it's just such a great community over there, and they followed us onto our other stuff. Shout out Brad Donovan for launching the Sight and Sound Facebook group. That's been really cool.
This is about Schmoes,
I know.
Not Sight and Sound.
Just listen. So it's funny to me how much of a kick. Like, people get a kick out of the banter, the back and forth banter that we can't be involved in. But I just think it's nice to know that that's at least entertaining to some other people.
I don't know if I was going back and forth or not with the Facebook. I'm trying to think, where was I? I was mostly on Facebook, but sometimes I get overwhelmed by the comments, and then I just kind of have to put it away until later. But
well, there's sometimes that we get brought up, and I'm like, do people even know what the hell they're talking about? Even though they flash those ads and during the break, but it's good to know now. Well, we'll get into it, but at one point, like I said, I was eating some delicious Mexican food, and not watching the show, and all of a sudden my phone blew up.
Well,
and we'll get to that.
I'm pretty much almost ready to get there, just because the only early note that I have prior to that was how spot on I assume Cody was by adding I guess you listened to the show, so you weren't able to appreciate this, but Cody was able to insert new title cards, new name cards at the bottom of the screen, depending on a joke that had been said on the show.
Right, I did see that.
So
I saw that on Schmoeville after the fact. Somebody had screen capped it.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to assume it's Cody because all Beardo does is monitor audio levels. Cody was doing a really great job, and he was making me laugh. Mark Maron of the show Schmoedown was Kristian's early on, and then there was one at the end where, like, Beardo tried his best, or I don't know, something like that. So those were pretty funny, and I do enjoy that touch. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, little tiny Easter egg sort of sprinkled in here and there. It's nice. Where the hell was Copster? Did they ever address that?
I don't remember what Kristian said. I think Kristian said where he was, but I don't remember. I should check Copster's Instagram story. Maybe I can find out. What else? Go back. What else was in your notes prior to the whole Jay's mom thing?
Well, now I'm going to have to get to my phone. Hang on a second here. We're not supposed to be on our phones. Kristian, didn't you get that note from Kristian? Just Mark being loud. Kristian loving TV. What's up with this? Finishing Glow?
Oh, he only watched Glow because it has to do with wrestling. It doesn't mean that he loves TV again.
I just think it's funny. I mean, ever since he's come back, he's just made it a point. It's like, what can I work on while I'm off, while I'm taking this sabbatical? I'm going to love TV. It's just like finishing The Leftovers, watching episode 2 of the OA, finishing Glow. It's fantastic. I love it.
How long until Kristian Harloff gives some sort of announcement on Collider or Schmoes Know that either channel is going to be mainly focused on television content?
Look, don't bring me into your hopes and dreams. I know what this is about. I know that
it's about getting me a job, Jay.
Nobody gives a shit about you. That's okay, though.
That's fair. I'm working on it. Are you going to answer the question, or is it over?
What was the question? When do I think it's going to happen?
Yeah.
Look, if we're theorizing that Campia didn't want comic book shopping, I can almost guarantee you that Kristian doesn't want a Collider TV show channel.
That's true. I think it was Campia's idea. At least that's how it was presented a couple years ago when they started TV recaps. So somebody like Kristian probably put the kibosh on that. But they are about to do that Game of Thrones thing.
Absolutely. And now here's Josh McCouga to talk about TV. Okay, thanks, Josh. We'll see you later. All right. Come on, get through it.
McCouga's got a brand new show on WGN now.
Oh, yeah?
Did you see that? Yeah, go check it out.
It was The Outsiders he was covering earlier. Must have done a good job on that.
Yeah. Yeah, they kept him around. Okay, anyway. All right. Do you want to talk about the sort of the headlining story, if you will, at least for us, the Jay's mom bit?
Yeah, look, always hard for me to judge the perception of other people, like what they feel about this, but apparently people loved it and people enjoyed it. Look, there's been a lot of speculation. It sort of, as the episode went on, they sort of focus in on it, but I've got to illuminate some things for Mark and Kristian here, and I think this is actually pretty funny. Look.
Oh, this is to them right here, right now?
It's to everybody, but they will also be educated in this as well, I guess. So we had nothing to do with this. Nothing whatsoever. But like I said, we have a small little niche group of listeners and people that support Sight and Sound, and we talk off air. We joke about things. We joke about the fact that Sight and Sound we don't get the love that other shows get. It's all shtick. It's 100% all shtick. But the person that called in and did this bit, was Luke Jaggers. That was confirmed later on in the show. But the funny thing about it was, I think, this is just my take, I think that Kristian was like, okay, some fan called in, did this thing. But Luke Jaggers is ride or die Sight and Sound. I mean, he has been with us since day one. He's a great friend of ours. He's come down to visit us. I mean, he didn't ask to do it. That was all off the cuff. It was surprising to me. It was shocking to me. It was really inside baseball. If you listen to Sight and Sound stuff, I mean, he did our.
He talked about your dog.
Talked about our dog. He did. It's just a thing. I mean, so much stuff, and I applaud him. I thought it was a great bit, not because I was involved with it, but just because it was so off the cuff, so unscripted, so unplanned, and I think it actually did catch them off guard. There was even a moment when it was going down where Mark legitimately thought that it was my mother, and it felt bad for calling this person an old hag. Let me just say this. What's funny about it is, if anybody thought it was my mom, it's funny to me because, one, my mom is not that old. In fact, she's not much older than John Rocha. She's 53 years old. She's really like,
yeah.
Kristian could probably almost be my dad. Like, pretty damn close. Isn't Kristian in his 40s?
He's like 41.
Oh, okay. Well, then never mind. But yeah, John Rocha. He could be, John Schnepp could be my dad's. Anyways, yeah, look, the last thing I'll say about it, people were asking, did you show your mom? Did you show your mom? It would be for the best if I didn't show her, because she would absolutely let them have it about this. Like, she is a very opinionated.
Who have what?
Mark and Kristian, I think. I don't know why.
What?
She would be like, how dare they think that I sound like that? I mean, I have seen her make grown men quiver. She spends most of her day on the telephone arguing with people. So it's just funny to me, the contrast of reality versus imagination.
Well, maybe having your mom on the phone would have actually been better if that was the case, because then she would have gotten back in Ellis's face after the old hag line.
Yeah. Well, I think to repay this debt, Mark Ellis needs to come to Lexington, Kentucky, do a spot at Comedy Off Broadway, and he can apologize to my mom to her face.
Oh, it would be a sold out show. I'd pack those seats with all of my friends. He should totally do it, and he should bring Brett. Great idea that I came up with. Here's my perspective on this whole thing. I was actually in the bathroom taking a shit. I was taking a shit. I came out of the bathroom midway through this segment. So I walk into my room, and the TV's going, and I hear a phone call, some crazy voice, and part of me is already like, well, that's strange, and it only got stranger because they were talking about us, and they were talking about your dog, and Kristian and Mark had no idea what was happening, and I'm hoping, there's no way for me to know, but I'm hoping that my experience with it was even more stranger than everyone else's because of this, because I was so curious I had to go back and rewind and start all over. And then the things that were going through my head, because I was kind of away from my phone for a second. So I was still kind of processing, like, what the hell is happening? And yeah, like you said, we had nothing to do with it. And people might not believe that, but that's fine. It doesn't really matter. But no, it's crazy that it happened. And the first thing I want to say is thank you, Luke, because it was such a testament to what I think is going on with Sight and Sound, but more importantly, involving the Schmoes. In my opinion, it's actually one of the more memorable Schmoes Know moments of the year. And I know that might be an obvious thing for me to say because it involves me, but it's not just that. I mean, think of how many weird phone calls that we've had lately. It's mostly been people just kind of coming on and not knowing what the hell to do, or they just ask, hey, Kristian, what'd you think of Baby Driver? This was a very unique phone call, whether it pertained to me or not, and I think it was probably one of the headlining moments from last night. It could be up there with the Rocha and Evan DeGraff sort of conflict.
More on that later. I do want to just say, I think to speak to what you're sort of putting down here is that I think it's cool, just in a more bigger picture thing. I think it's cool that SK Plus is this other thing. Of course it is. And every now and then they sort of roll in things from SK Plus, which I think forces people, maybe not forces people, but it sort of promotes the idea of expanding your Schmoes Know experience. But it makes me happy to know that, and Kristian may hate this, I have no idea, but I could defend myself with it. I like the fact that we have this group of people that hang out with us every week, and we can sort of incite this chaos, like that unpredictability factor that we talk so much about every week, the thing that we love, the fact that we can have something to do with it. I love that. I love that aspect that they could be going back to their old ways next week, the show staying on the rails, and you never know what shenanigans could happen from something that we've said, and can just be like, oh yeah, all that shit that you were just talking about, how about this old lady voice talking about an old dog and throwing shade at Captain Learning or whatever that's called. I mean, It was great. Those unplanned things, it's golden. Thank you, Luke.
Yeah, it was a great moment. I hope everyone enjoyed it. There might be a couple of people that probably didn't think it was funny. Maybe John Campia, maybe Brian Davids, but that's fine. It was great, and you're wrong if you didn't think it was funny. That's all I have to say, really, on that topic. I do find it interesting. He used your mom. He didn't pretend to be my mom, Jay.
Do you want to while we're on phone calls, do you want to talk about Evan's phone call?
Yeah, that's fine. I actually want to get into everything Rocha right now. So yeah, let's start with that.
So this was interesting for me because I'm glad it ended up going where it went, because I just got to say it. Hashtag transparency. I was a little pissed because Evan, another ride or die Sight and Sound guy as well. Big shout out to Evan. And I was getting super defensive. I was like, what the hell? Rocha, chill out. It's a fan. Relax. But they ended up coming back around to it and sort of being like, all right, you're taking this a little too far.
Here's what I'll say. I've thought about it. I have never mentioned this on the show before. But I'm going to now. I've had a similar run-in with Rocha on Twitter like that. And the only reason why I'm talking about it now is because I feel like me and Rocha, we are friends with Rocha. I mean, Rocha has been very good to us. We've recorded several podcasts with Rocha. I love him to death. There's no question about it. I think he's great. I sent him a Sight and Sound t-shirt in the mail that Ellis has yet to give him. So yeah, there's no question about it that I love and appreciate everything Rocha does, but we had a similar misunderstanding on Twitter that was like that. So I can kind of empathize with Evan a little bit because Rocha stays in this mentality that he uses the same lexicon. He used the same kind of lexicon last night as he did a couple of years ago when this happened to me. Well, it wasn't a couple of years ago. It was probably last year.
It was last year,
yeah. Yeah. And I do think that he has... It depends. It's case by case. I'm not going to put a blanket statement, but I do think there are times when he gets overly upset with the fans, and I think that's something that Kristian and Mark have a better understanding of, because it's really easy for people at home that are watching all of this content to kind of feel like they're in on the jokes, you know what I mean? And for something to exist like the Schmoe Down, I'm not justifying it either way. I'm just saying it's very easy for someone, especially with the Schmoe Down, all the theatrics, it's very easy for someone to kind of want to poke at someone like John Rocha. And I think he automatically goes to the place where this person is only trying to do it for fame. Like, that's one thing he said about me when he actually misunderstood what I said. Like, what I said wasn't a dig at him at all, and he immediately went there. So it was like he already had that mentality. He already had that temper about him, but it ended up being a total misunderstanding. But he had the same kind of mentality here. Now, I did not see the Twitter conversation, but that's sort of still what I've arrived at based on my personal experience with him. But like, with that being said, I mean, all of that it's nothing now. It's in the past. It doesn't affect me. I still love Rocha, but I was very familiar with his tone last night.
Right. And I think more than anything, I'm just providing analysis on it. I love John Rocha. I think he's incredible. I'm grateful for every time he's been on our show. Obviously, we have an open door policy anytime he wants to come on. But just giving pure analysis, and look, I'll play devil's advocate here. This is a guy who has created a very fiery character, and I think sometimes the lines can get blurred between John Rocha and the Outlaw, of course, but I also think that he is just, at the core of him, a very, very passionate individual. I don't need to sit here and explain that to people or fight for that case. He is a very passionate individual. My whole thing, again, is one... I was sort of like getting defensive for Evan, but also I think Rocha sort of showed his cards a little bit. I mean, just from a pure schmoedown perspective, yeah, people can smack talk and they can have the talk back and forth all they want. But I think if people, anytime you're showing that side of you, that you can have your buttons pushed online, you're sort of opening yourself up. I mean, anybody, come next schmoedown match, and he's got one coming up here on the Collision, and any ones in the future, if people want to get under his skin, I think Evan has sort of shown the blueprint to do that. I mean,
right.
You sort of have to know. I mean, he doesn't need me to tell him this, but you sort of got to know when to just put earmuffs on or sort of ignore that.
You talked about this last week, the Finstock approach, and I think that's something that could be of value for Rocha too. If anything at all happens to Finstock, all he has to say is, well, they're a loser.
That's right.
And then it's over. So if Rocha could kind of adopt something like that might be in the realm, like he might get upset, but if it was like under the guise of the outlaw, like maybe a catchphrase of some kind, then maybe he could throw that out there. And that might be helpful.
And look, we don't need to be the ones even really telling him this. Like I said, he has like far more followers than we do. He has a wider reach than we do. But like, we're also no strangers to people getting on our case with stuff too. I have 2 videos on our YouTube channel that are just filled with just people absolutely trashing me because of my musical opinion on something. And it's like, eventually I just became funny. Like, I was just like,
right.
This is just hilarious more than anything.
Forgive me for this harsh segue, but I just realized where we were on time. I wanted to transition really quick into our history lesson, and then we'll wrap up with our sort of last few discussion points, Jay. I know that you had a history lesson this week because it was required by Kristian Harloff.
Yeah, I just want to make Daddy proud. Sifting through some of these history lessons, I've realized something.
What's that, Jay?
Finstock is a fucking crazy man.
Finstock is amazing.
He's a lunatic.
He's amazing.
He's had a lot of things that he's been known for over the years. And if you aren't familiar with Finstock, then this clip isn't going to do him justice, but I think it will set up his perspective. But are you familiar with this sort of game that they play called Finstock's Stories?
No. Give me a refresher.
So essentially, I would say 90% of the things that Finstock says is complete nonsense, which is great.
Oh, right.
And he just will go off on these random stories about things. And
oh, well, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so they play this game. It's sort of like 3 truths and a lie, and you sort of have to pick it out, but it's just full-on stories, and you have to figure out what of the story is ridiculous and what is a lie. Just for shits and giggles, can you just give an example of something, like tell just a quick story from the perspective of Finstock?
Well, me and Spicy Lucy were downtown getting our drums keyed at the Guitar Center right before we went to study for our next. That's awful.
Well, I think the point,
and then we had this guy crash in front of us. He was parasailing, and he actually had flown like down from Napa Valley. Like he traveled that far. The wind carried him all the way, and then he crashed right in front of us. And then it turned out to be Sylvester Stallone's brother, and we shot a music video with him.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Basically, Finstock speaks in ad-libs, and it's fantastic. But this clip comes all the way back, still from the Toad Hop days, April 11th, 2013. This is on the iTunes feed, not the one that you're listening to this podcast on, but the other iTunes feed back from the Toad Hop days.
Schmoes Know Movie Show.
Absolutely. Make sure you go and check it out, but here is a short clip from that episode.
What do you got? Let's do a Finstock story, and this is how we do it. If you guys don't know that in Schmoeville, if you're not familiar with Finstock, Finstock's going to tell a story, and Majority of it will be bullshit, I'm sure. So we have to find out what parts of it are crap. And you guys out there, we'll give Schmoe a chance to say whether or not he's full of shit. And Bobby, go ahead and tell your story.
Just say he looks like a handsome science teacher right now.
Someone said he looks like a psychiatrist. Like, it's amazing. And someone said that they can't tell the difference between when you wear the mask and normal.
Yeah, I'll take that as a compliment.
Also, I think he planned to wear glasses the same night.
Yeah, of course. He goes.
So
He knows.
these are non-prescription. These are just plastic lenses.
Okay.
Oh, mine are real.
All right. So let's.
show.
I take them off.
You know,
and
I was
look at them.
Here we go.
I went through a lot of dental trials and tribulations, right? So now, and this person that I know obviously went through a couple of them too, and we wound up in the same dentist office.
Okay.
Her name is Margot Kidder.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So we're sitting there. We started talking a little bit. I'm like, I'm not going to act like I don't know who you are here. And she's like, well, I had a lot of problems and things like that. I'm like, yeah. I was like, let me give me some Superman stuff,
Getting the scoop at the
I
dentist.
go like this. I go, someone told me Stallone was signed, sealed, and delivered as Superman. And guess what happened?
What?
Marlon Brando, who had the carte blanche in casting, vetoed him. And he goes, I'm not working with that guy.
Why?
Just because of On the Waterfront and Rocky and all those other trials and tribulations that went through there. But Stallone was way offended because Brando was his idol.
Right.
And then Stallone went on a bunch of talk shows and bashed Marlon and said he didn't respect him as an actor or a man. He challenged him to a fight and numerous other things.
I gotta tell you, none of that sounds fake.
No. Sounds pretty spot on.
I don't believe anything that comes out of his mouth.
But you
Finstock
say
just
that
told a really dramatic story.
You said that last time, and all of his stories were true.
Not all.
Majority of them.
You know who he kind of sounded like? It was the old woman in Titanic right there.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice
no,
voice.
yeah, it's
Like,
true.
it was,
Well,
like,
also,
really good.
there's
Wait,
another
wait,
one.
so
I
wait,
mean, I
so-
sat down for a while with her. She said Marlon Brando was such a douche on set that he wouldn't remember it. He didn't want to know any of his lines. And he went to producers and said, look, I just want my voice to be heard. And what I want is a flying neon green bagel as the image to talk. Okay?
All right. Wait a minute. Hold on. Stop it. Stop it.
I don't even know what you're
Wait,
talking about.
hold on. First of all, I want to go back to the Stallone thing. He never challenged him to a fight.
I don't. He did something on.
He never challenged him to a fight.
No.
Okay. All right. So I think this bagel story is true.
It's true.
I think the bagel story is true.
A neon levitating green bagel.
You know that's
in
like
Superman.
That, yeah. All right. So Tiffany,
What?
do you think that's fake or real? Come on.
I think.
Come on.
I think it's fake.
All right, Schmoeville, do the research.
I never bet against Finstock. We're
right,
brothers in
all
arms.
right.
And
so
the
let's-
guy was such a douche. He wouldn't memorize his lines after that when he told him the bagel thing wasn't going to fly. That when he's putting the Jor-El, what's Superman's fake name in Krypton?
Kal-El.
No, it's not his fake
Kal-El.
name. It's his real name.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Superman's his name, right?
No, it's
Wait,
Kal-El.
One name.
Marlon Brando, as he's putting them in, all his lines were written on the diaper.
Here's the thing. I feel like he gets bits and pieces of truth
Okay,
and then
but that's-
throws
that's-
in weird stuff.
that's the
Because
point.
I did hear that Marlon Brando didn't memorize his lines and would have them
But-
written down and taped to the ground and all that kind of
No,
stuff.
on his
That-
diaper.
Oh, that clip was hilarious, Jay.
Hashtag transparency. You haven't even heard it yet.
Again, harsh segue. I thought that we did see a different side to Rocha. I kind of saw a vulnerability with Rocha because he has no idea where he stands when it comes to William Bibbiani. And I saw this whole Twitter exchange unfold before the live show, so I had all kinds of context for when they were actually discussing it. I just kind of forget sometimes that these people that hang out with each other don't always really know each other.
Right.
So it's been really interesting, even though Rocha and the Bibbs are a part of the Four Horsemen together, they have these weird kind of off-camera interactions. So I just kind of found that really fascinating. I'm also surprised because I feel like Rocha, it should be reversed, kind of. Like, I feel like Rocha would be the type of person where I'd be like, I don't really know where I stand with Rocha. Like, Bibbiani should be like, I don't know where I stand with Rocha. He's a little off-putting. He's a little intimidating. It's weird that it's the other way around.
I agree. I think it's fascinating. 2 points real quick. One, I think we need, or I would love to see, a Rocha Bibiani like buddy cop movie sort of thing, just because of I thought their interaction when Bibiani was on the show just a little while ago, I thought their interaction was hilarious. And two, it's funny because so most of the time we get the outlaw in the Schmoedown. We get him on his own when he's in singles matches, and we get him with Nos when he's in team matches. And they're not too far apart. We also get him when he's cutting promos. It really never changes, but we never really get to see the outlaw interacting with people outside of that. And when I go back to that episode when Bibiani was on the live show with Rocha, that's like the first time we've really seen anything like that sort of interaction. And there's like this other side to the outlaw that's kind of comedic, where it's kind of like he's very boisterous, he's very cocky, but he's also mildly unsure of himself. Like, he's like, well, I'm the greatest, but I don't really know if you like me or not. I don't know where we stand, but I will kick your ass. But is that going to upset you? I mean, it's kind of funny. I would love to see more of that.
I don't think he's always like that. Like, I think it just depends on who you're talking about. Like, I don't think he has that mentality at all, like, towards us.
Well, right, yeah.
But yeah, I did think that was an interesting side to him. Very weird, because I don't know. Bibiani, I know that I assume he's a well-respected critic in this space, but like nothing jumps out at me that like makes me intimidated by him by any means. Like I don't think Bibiani's really supposed to be taken seriously either. If anything, I think he does a great job at being someone else, because when we saw him on the Schmoes Know Show, or when you kind of read into the things he says on Twitter, they are different people. He's very goofy on the Schmoedown, but other than that, I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting dynamic between those two people.
He's a very bright individual, Bibiani. I mean, they both are, but Bibiani is like the type of guy that I would be afraid to go toe-to-toe with, because he sort of fights you with his brain as opposed to his brawn. You know, I don't know if you're going to get a lot of like the scare tactics that Rocha would get, where he's very in your face, very intense, very aggro, that the outlaw character sort of promotes. But Bibiani, whenever you're going with him, I mean, he could just flat out say, all that shit you just said, you're wrong. I mean, it's like that. Sometimes those are even the more scary, especially when you're going back and forth on Twitter, because it's all word form, and it's just so easy for people to just see, like, no, what you just said is complete bullshit. So I think tread lightly with Bibiani.
Did you want a Facebook question or a Twitter question, or?
We're going to the YouTube chat.
My last note is actually pretty upsetting. My last note is, I like Beard Ellis, but I watched him on Movie Talk today, and it doesn't even matter anymore because he shaved last night.
Yeah,
I liked Beard Ellis.
Kristian supports the dad beard really well. Like I like his scruff. He has this constant scruff that I strive for. And anytime I shave,
he's the silver fox that Kristian.
Anytime I shave down to get that natural, I haven't shaved in 3 days scruff. It just looks artificial. I want a no hat Ellis and a bearded Ellis.
Yeah, I agree. I like that a lot. Okay.
All right.
Did we cover all of your notes?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're good.
Oh, the last thing I want to say. These T-shirts. Ellis. I mailed those T-shirts out to Collider June 2nd of 2017. It is now July 6th. It has been over a month, and I know for a fact last week Ellis told me that he distributed the T-shirts. You want to know how I know that he hasn't done that? Not only did Kristian call him out on it, but T-shirts aren't the only thing in the bag. And I'll leave it at that. But if they had opened it, they would have known and maybe brought up the other thing that I put in the bag. It's nothing controversial. It's not anthrax, like Mark Ellis said. I would never do something like that.
You didn't poop in a sack.
No, nothing like that. But I know for a fact that they have yet to open that damn thing. RB3 doesn't have his shirt. Rocha doesn't have his shirt. Cobster doesn't have his shirt. This is getting ridiculous.
It's so bad that since we've sent them out, we've released a new line of shirts for a new season of the year. Like,
yeah,
their shirts are now out of season.
And I appreciate it. I love them. The point wasn't for them to wear the shirts on camera. And I know that they think that, and I think that they're going to end up doing it, and I'm very appreciative of that. That wasn't really the point. The whole point was to repay them for everything that they've done for us. And that's why I specifically gave it to the people that I gave it to, the people that have contributed to everything that Jay and I have done. So I appreciate that, but that's not what it was. The reason why I was so upset about it is because, hey, guys, do the math. How much are 5 t-shirts on TeePublic? I thought that much money was just lost and that they never got that package. And then I come to find out that it's been in Ellis's car the whole time.
Yeah, why do you think we're not on video this week? We couldn't afford it.
Yeah. That's the only reason why I was concerned. And so just get the shirts, Ellis. I'm not even mad at Ellis anymore. I feel kind of sad for him that they're just in his car.
He should be ashamed of himself.
Anyway, Kristian, I know you're listening to this. Just go get him. Go to his car and grab the envelope, and I'm putting you in charge. I should have never given him that.
Just take it easy. Here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's what I'm going to do.
It's been a month and a week, Jay.
If you want your shirts, you can go to sightsoundpod.com. Pick them up. We just dropped a whole new line of summer shirts, not just shirts, but tank tops. I don't know why you'd buy them, but we've got like hoodies and shit, and that's great. You can get a Sight and Sound sticker. No After Schmoe shirts yet, but coming soon, hopefully. And you're going to support us. You're going to support this show and all the shows that we do. You're going to help make them better. And you're going to look fantastic doing it as well. Also, a huge shout out to Brad Donovan. Thank you so much for launching the Sight and Sound Facebook group. If you have a great time in Schmoeville, that's fantastic. But come over to the Sight and Sound Facebook group as well. Get involved in some great conversations. I didn't know how it was going to go, but we've been having some fantastic conversations over there. A lot of the people in Schmoeville that you already know and love are over there, plus some new people. Big shout out to that Facebook group. Big shout out to Luke Jaggers. Thank you so much for calling in and giving us something memorable to talk about in addition to what we already talk about. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jaye Williams, J to the A to the Y to the E. It's the same for both. Ryan, where can they find you?
You can also support me and Jay by subscribing to the Schmoes Know podcast feed. I don't know if you're listening to this on YouTube, but please subscribe to that podcast feed as well, because you never know. You might be driving in the car, and you might want to open up a podcast app as opposed to having YouTube open, or vice versa. If you're listening to this as a podcast, also subscribe to SK Plus, please, and make sure you're checking out all the shows that are over there, like Beardo, like Schmoedown Rundown, like Outlaw Nation. We need your support. We greatly appreciate it as always. You can follow me on Twitter at WhatUpSnell. Thank you so much again for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.